Hey, Lindsay. Lindsay, this is Metabob. Aborted Soul asked me to watch your two videos about the Experiential God and comment on them if I thought I had anything to say. So I'm going to try. And Aborted Soul, at the end of this, I am going to comment on your video. First of all, you say, Lindsay, you say that you believe in God because you've experienced Him. Well, let me go out on a limb and say, I haven't experienced the God that you believe in. Now, I have some questions for you. Why do you think this is? Do you think that I am lying when I say that to you? Do you think that I am lying to myself because in some moral way I'm rejecting the message that God has sent me? Do you think that for some reason God reveals Himself to some people but not to others? In other words, gives some people help in believing in Him but not others? Do you believe that you and I have had the same experience, but I interpret it completely differently? Not as God, but as something else. And not for some moral failing that I have, but for legitimate reasons. Or do you believe that you've had an experience that I haven't had because you have the theist gene and I have the atheist gene? Those are the only options that I can think of, but if there are some others, if something else occurs to you, mention it. That's a sincere question. I want to know what the alternatives are if I have not experienced what you say you have experienced. Okay, which brings me to a couple of things that you say in your second video. First of all, you give examples of how certain people you know or have heard of went from disbelief to belief by directly experiencing God. And the examples that you give speak very strongly to me as real experiences that people can have. But the conclusion that those experiences are a message from your God, the God that you believe in, is not so obvious. And so I have another question for you. What do you say to someone who has had that kind of experience that you described and sees it as Buddha nature, or what are the other alternatives? I can't really think of them because basically all the Christians, Jews, and Muslims, however much they may disagree with me on this, basically believe in the same big guy. So let's just reduce it to Buddha and Jehovah, Yahweh, Allah. What do you say to the notion that someone could have the experience that you're describing and interpret it as belief in another God? Are they making a mistake? Are they misidentifying the presence that has come into them in this moment? And the last question for you, because I can't help but feel that your gentle manner and diffident disinterest in evangelizing is a kind of a Trojan horse for a particular belief system. The question is, do you believe that human beings must believe in the true God, or else? Do you believe that there is a punishment and reward built into a belief in God? And if you do, I'm very curious to know what the specifics of this belief are, because you say in your part 2 video that you reject large portions of the Bible as not being the true Word of God. You do not accept the Bible as what the fundamentalist Christians claim, a owner's manual for the soul, with the literal truth, nothing but the truth, and God help those who don't believe it. You seem to be rejecting that, so if you do believe that it matters in some fundamental spiritual way what God you believe in, and whether you believe in one, then I would like to know what the specifics of this belief are, even though you take the tack that each person finds him in his own way. Now, I believe that too, but I don't believe that anybody can guess wrong. I don't believe it's possible. So, if you do, I really would like to know some more specifics. Because, like it or not, you've kind of put yourself in the position of a witness to your faith. So, you really ought to be more specific. But now, coming around to Aborted Soul and your video, I have just blundered into making a bunch of atheist-related videos lately, and I'm trying to make a point, and I don't know if I'm making it or not. I haven't gotten enough real feedback yet to get any sense of whether I'm just completely talking past everyone. What I'm promoting is this idea that spirituality is not how to put this, it's not incompatible with atheism. That spirituality is part of the empirical reality that atheism embraces. And I've been reading passages from Alan Watts, partly because he was so important to me, and partly because I was so dissatisfied with my attempts to explain myself what I'm trying to say here. And I'm just going to have to keep doing these videos until I land on the one where I really think I said what I meant to. But here's the thing about what you believe.
Because we have a crocodile brain in our skulls.
Okay, like we're getting there.
Like the way it grew out, it's not the perfect machine. It's not this sort of spiritual conduit for the universe. It grew the same way anything else grows. Like a human being grows from an embryo. And
it is the spiritual conduit for the universe. A.S., don't you get it? You believe what science tells you. And science is telling you things about the environment, the nature of existence, as much as science can so far tell us. But all of this, including the science, takes place in what, for lack of a better term, I would call the human dimension. And in the human dimension, spirituality exists, and it's an expression of the human dimension. I mean, can you do you not see? Okay, what am I trying to do here? I'm trying to disabuse you of an idea you have, or that I think you have, that maybe you have never even thought about, which is this assumption that human beings and human existence can have certain parts of it taken away and would benefit from that, and that the belief in God and the experience of spirituality is one of those things. You have this long laundry list, which I'm completely familiar with and very sympathetic to, of the crimes of the religious. That religion has been an eager and willing partner in all sorts of hideousness down through the millennia. Absolutely true, completely true. But the thing that maybe you're not recognizing is correlation does not necessarily imply causation, and horrible hideousness and evil behavior, for lack of a better term, evil behavior, goes with humanity right along with a belief in religion and faith, and they're going to be caught up together. And atheism. Here I'm going to state something that I'm not going to have time to support here, but atheism is a religion. It fulfills functions of religion, just like Marxism fulfilled functions of religion. And if you go down through the history of organized atheism, the much smaller number of examples of organized atheism that you could name, I can't think of a whole lot. The cult of reason during the French Revolution, obviously the Russian Revolution, the Chinese Revolution, and the cult of Ayn Rand. What you will find is behavior of a kind with all the awfulness of the believers. And what a non-horrible atheist will answer is, well, those aren't real atheists. They let their atheism be polluted by unsupportable notions. So welcome to the ranks of the ideological apologists. Isn't that the argument of the so-called not nasty good Christians, that all the bad Christians are really not really Christians? They got it wrong. They're polluting the ideas. In reality, we're all human, and this is what happens in our human sphere. And it, I haven't read any Carl Sagan, and I only saw snippets of the Cosmos show. I saw Contact, though, the movie. He always seems like an extremely sensible guy to me. I'm sure I agree with every scientific thing he ever said, and I don't know what he did and didn't say, so I should just shut up about him. But I will say that Carl Sagan had a religious relationship to science. He wouldn't have called it that, and there's no Big Daddy in the sky to make him call it that, and his fate in his non-existent post-death state is not determined by what he did and didn't say about the feeling that he had, but he had a feeling. You know, it's only in Star Trek that there can be an emotionless humanoid. He had a feeling. You're in love now. Love, as any good scientist or scientifically thinking person knows, is made up of a whole lot of things that aren't love. Evolutionary helpers and what have you. And from my personal experience, I know that in my life I had what I considered at the time to be tremendous, gigantic love. And now when I look back at what I thought was love, I say, oh, I was neurotic beyond belief and it wasn't love at all. And the kind of love that I thought it was, I'm not even sure if it really exists. What am I talking about? Of course it exists. It exists as what it was in the human dimension among people. If you love someone, you aren't indulging in a human characteristic. And can you see that that human characteristic is akin to a belief in God as another kind of human characteristic, and as much a blooming of aspects of our objective nature as love? Can you see that? Because if nothing else, I guess my interest in saying the things that I've been saying is talking to atheists who I have no interest in trying to convince any atheists that there's a literal God, because there isn't. I'm sure of that too. Yeah, maybe that, and I guess, if I'm not fastidious, that makes me an atheist. But I believe in God, all the gods, and belief in God are as intimate and real, and will be as much a part of my experience for as long as I live as the known history of Alexander the Great, and whether the dinosaurs were killed by a meteor or whether that was only part of the story. You know, it's all part and parcel of what we are and where we are, because science is not independent of humanity. It if a tree falls in the forest and nobody's there to hear it, does it make a sound? Well, I don't know about that. I would tend to say no. If there's no ear to hear it, it doesn't make a sound. The phenomenon that would have made a sound if there were something to hear it go on. If nobody can appreciate them, God knows what they are outside of our human experience.